I never thought this Shaboozey conversation around him saying that immigrants built America would be met with so much pushback to Black Americans trying to educate people that this is ahistorical and is absolutely incorrect. I had a couple of people mentioning the Chinese and others building railroads, which, feel free to look it up for yourself, was somewhere in the late 1800s. Riddle me this. What year were the enslaved forcefully brought to Jamestown? I'll give you a hint. It was 2.5 centuries before any railroads were being built. 2.5 centuries of forced and unpaid labor that has grossed this nation in the trillions of dollars. And let me just say, I for one don't put Shaboozey in any form of hierarchy as someone who openly expressed that his stage name is the literal mispronunciation of his actual last name.
I'm Nigerian American, so my last name is actually pronounced Shaboozey. And just growing up in Virginia, like everybody just did not know how to enunciate my name. So they was just like, Shaboozey. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna just run with that. Telling my homies, should that be my artist name? I was pretty skeptical about it, but they was like, nah, that's hard.
Mind you, he's from Woodbridge, Virginia. It's 30 minutes away from DC. The continued dismissal of the contributions of Black Americans in this nation is also a continued dismissal of the plight of Black Americans in this nation. When we look at where it is that we are with the attack on immigration, we are rerunning through this cycle of violence because when we have tried to educate folks on who it is that we are and our experiences in this country, folks want to start from building railroads, but not picking cotton. Folks want to start after the Emancipation Proclamation, but not the running of bare feet in the middle of the night with the hope of escaping the tyranny of rape and castration and the open experimentation on Black people. So when folks see 5-year-old Liam Ramos kidnapped by ICE, everyone is wondering, how could this happen? But I immediately thought about Emmett Till and his kidnapping in the middle of the night and what he looked like during his open casket funeral, which you can see his casket in the National Museum of African American History and Culture. It is far less about Shaboozey's willful ignorance, but a collective willful ignorance that misinforms people that they deserve a level of humanity that we don't. And that is the...
So now we're just going to lie about the foundation of the United States and just say that immigrants built the country.
And again, the last thing I want to say, immigrants built this country, literally. So this is for them.
So Shaboozey's going to say that immigrants built the country during his Grammy Award speech. And this is the problem, bro. If you build a country, you're not an immigrant. So the foundational people that were here before the founding of this fucking country, and they did all the slave labor and they were participating in bondage against their will, right? Those are the people that built the country. And if you build a country, you're not an immigrant. So the people that came after, those are immigrants, right? And you cannot be an immigrant and then be the foundation of this country at the same time. An immigrant is somebody that migrates to an already established country. So it doesn't make sense when y'all say that. And it's getting very disrespectful. Means that you are doing an award speech for a genre of music that your ethnic background didn't create, right? And the very people that I'm talking about also built the foundation for country music. Black Americans, ethnic Black Americans built the foundation of country music, and you're also not giving credit to them as well. It's just disrespectful all around. Let me know what y'all think, man. Let me know what y'all think.
Immigrants built this country. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear a man standing up cosplaying a Black American during Black History Month while dressed as a Black American looking like a cowboy. Don't you know who created cowboy? Do you not know where that come from? No. You got a grill in your mouth. Do you know where that came from? No. You won an award for music. Do you know where that music came from? No. No. So during Black History Month, we're going to make a false claim to who built America while being Black. This is not a diaspora war because we're not getting ready to have one. The issue is misinformation being spread. There was an opportunity for you to highlight how you have benefited solely from the backs of Black Americans. Not only as even your parents being from a different country coming to America, Black Americans. The clothes and style of dress you have on, Black American. The grill inside of your mouth, Black American. The music you're singing and winning a Grammy for, Black Americans. But during Black History Month, you got your Black ass on a stage in front of a sea of whites and said out of your mouth with tears. With tears. What? I'm sorry? with tears talking about how immigrants built this country. Where are you getting your information and education from? Because I'm in a state of confusion. I am the confusion. The confusion is me. How does something like this happen? How do you benefit solely from one group of people and cry about another while looking closely, might I add? People looking at you would think you were a Black American because of everything you embody is Black American. What are you taught? Use your common sense. What are you talking about? And why would you use this opportunity on stage when you could have paved the way and set an example for people to give credit where credit is due? Y'all want to talk about Black Americans being so angry? Wouldn't you be angry too if somebody had you on as a costume and that person looked like they could be you and still gave credit outside of you? Wouldn't you be upset?
I think the problem with saying immigrants built this country is it's not acknowledging what Black Americans went through in this country. And that's the same thing that repeatedly is done, that keeps being done, is not giving credit to enslaved Black people. Black people did not, the enslaved Black people at least, did not come over here willingly. And we have to acknowledge that. And they built this country before anybody else was even able to come over here. So yes, Black Americans have the right to be annoyed, irritated, take offense to people saying immigrants built this country, because Black people literally had to give their lives, their kids, their families had to make sacrifices in order for you to even come over here and do what y'all did. That is also not trying to downplay anything that immigrants have come over here and done. Like, it's just giving credit where it's due. And it's just been the biggest issue for so freaking long that Black Americans have not been given. I mean, even when it was put in law that Black Americans get this, never received 40 acres and a mule, never received reparations, never received anything due to the suffering of Black Americans in this country. And then we still can't even get the credit for history.
Country singer Shaboozey and New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani have both said that immigrants built this country. And let me be clear, immigrants have absolutely contributed to the growth and development of the United States. And today, immigrants are being targeted by cruel, unjust, and racially coded policies that must be challenged. But truth matters. The foundational wealth of this country was not created by immigrants. It was created by trafficked African people forced into chattel slavery. For more than 200 years, African people were kidnapped, sold, raped, and worked without pay. They cleared the land, they built the plantations, they harvested the cotton, the tobacco, the rice, the sugar. They generated the exports that financed the banks, insurance companies, ports, railroads, and factories. That stolen labor created enormous wealth, and that wealth built America's early economy. The opportunity that later attracted immigrants didn't fall from the sky. It was made possible by centuries of uncompensated African labor. So when people say that immigrants built this country, we have to be honest. Enslaved Africans built the foundation. Immigrants arrived into a system already enriched by that stolen labor. Both truths can exist. And today, the same white supremacist ideology that once justified slavery now animates anti-immigrant policies. It targets Black communities. It targets Latino communities. It criminalizes poverty, and it weaponizes fear. Divide and conquer has always been the strategy. Because if people ever really understood who actually created this country's wealth, the entire mythology of American exceptionalism would collapse. Honor immigrants, defend immigrants, but never erase the people whose blood, sweat, and stolen labor made America attractive to immigrants in the first place. And if you didn't know, now you know.
And another thing about Shaboozey getting up there, flapping his gums talking about immigrants built America. I want to know what y'all mean by built. Because when foundational Black Americans say that they are the foundation of this country, they're not just talking about building the White House or, Seneca Village or Black Wall Street or any other things that we built in this country, like physical structures. We're not just talking about the physical structures. Foundational means we built the civil rights that you're using to come over here now. Black Americans built the country that you were able to come to take advantage of. Because I guarantee you, if I go to one of them countries that y'all say I look like so much, they not giving me shit. But when you come here, you can take advantage of all of our systems. Why? Because of my ancestors. Because of us. And then to turn around, get successful in our country, and then say, well, we built it all along. It was immigrants that built it. It's a slap in the face. It really is. And the way that y'all refuse to see the disrespect, I don't believe that you don't refuse. I believe that you know what you're saying. I believe every immigrant that says immigrants built America, while bypassing Black Americans, know exactly what they're doing. And it is direct disrespect to Black Americans in this country and our ancestors and everything that we've accomplished, because you wouldn't even be able to be here to say that had it not been for us. And that's what we need to understand is Black History Month. Black History Month is about Black American history. And if you want to participate in Black American history as an immigrant, that's what you need to do. If you want to participate in Black History Month, you need to be learning about Black American history all month long. Participate by boning up on the things and accomplishments of Black Americans, so you can stop being ignorant and say ignorant things that inadvertently or on purpose disrespect us. Because, come on, we're done with this.
Shaboozey, the Grammys, and chattel slavery. Let's talk about it. Yesterday, Shaboozey won his first Grammy ever, and in his acceptance speech, he thanked immigrants, which was immediately very exciting for a lot of people, but it also stratified folks because in it, he thanked immigrants for building this country, and some people had a problem with that. On the one hand, people really praised Shaboozey for doing this, for being brave and using his platform to stand up for immigrants, especially at a time like this. But a lot of other people felt kind of insulted by it, right? Because it sort of erased Black Americans in a really strange way, and it totally polarized people, and I want to talk about it. My first really important point is that chattel slavery was not a form of immigration. The people that were enslaved in America were not immigrants. An immigrant is someone who makes the decision to leave their country and move to a foreign land. There's a degree of free will and agency in that decision, which is not to suggest that there are not immigrants who are escaping dangerous or violent places or persecution. That is very true of a lot of immigrants. Chattel slavery was in no way a form of immigration, right? This process involved the stealing and forcible movement of African people across whole oceans to a country where they were then forced to labor for free on American soil, right? There was no intention or decision-making by enslaved persons. Definitionally, chattel slavery was a hereditary system in which white people literally owned enslaved persons, right? It was a form of legal property, which they were then allowed to buy and trade and sell and also inherit. It was disgusting. It lasted for 246 years in America, and Black people have never received reparations for this forced form of servitude and slavery. And so what Shaboozey said yesterday at the Grammys was definitely an offensive, but perhaps unintentionally so, statement about immigration as it pertains to chattel slavery. And it's one that people make pretty often, right? Again, it's important to note that one, enslaved American people were not immigrants, right? They were stolen. And two, it's not only immigrants who have enabled this country to prosper, but they really have allowed it to prosper. Black Americans built the foundation of this country without pay, without recognition. They toiled. It was a very violent, forced system of capitalism. It's horrendous, untold horrors. And And so it is essential when you're discussing the history of America to speak very heavily and accurately about the immense contributions that Black Americans made towards this country. That being said, I'm not mad at Shaboozey. I don't think he was trying to erase this really important part of American history. What I do think he was trying to do was to use his platform to stand up for immigrants at a time like this when they are in immense danger. It's essential that we defend them and we talk about how important and amazing immigrants are to America. But we can do that at the same time as we acknowledge the important contributions Black Americans have made to this country, especially during Black History Month. So yeah, what I think Shaboozey probably meant to say is that immigrants are essential in America and they are meaningful and their contributions are vast and immense. And also Black Americans are responsible for this country being founded and its flourishing, and they never receive reparations for it. And we should never forget the transatlantic slave trade.
Shaboozey's under fire because at the Grammys, he dedicated his award to his immigrant mother who came from Nigeria, proceeded to say that immigrants built this nation, and dedicated his award to immigrants and the children of immigrants. Now the Black community is going after him, saying that that's Black erasure because this country was, in fact, built on the backs of enslaved people. But then I started thinking, enslaved people were forced to migrate into this country. Therefore, by definition, your ancestors would be immigrants. But upon doing my research, by social contract, according to historians, scholars, and linguistics, no. So I kept searching because that doesn't sit right to me. Why, by social construct, would you dismiss that these people migrated into the United States, even if they were forced to, because they didn't come here by choice? And this is where my heart broke. It states that the reason why enslaved people are not considered immigrants is because they were brought into this country as property. And this goes down a fine line of systemic oppression and Black erasure. Because systemically, if we continue to say that your family were our property, we follow the route that these scholars keep to say it and deny the fact that you were immigrants. It does erase the horrible stuff that happened to your ancestors. And the reason I'm making this video is because I know I'm not the only one that thought that enslaved people were also immigrants or considered your ancestors immigrants, because to me they were never property, they were human. But to those people, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And I've come across a few videos where people are like, oh my god, the Black community is just looking to be offended. But in all reality, it's not an offense. It is Black erasure. Enslaved people helped build this country. Their owners didn't do shit. And we tend to forget that because that happened in the 1700s, 1800s. And mass migration from other countries into the United States started happening in the late 1800s. That's during the time that slavery should have already been abolished. People were coming to work here because there was no more slaves. And that's when the quote-unquote American dream was a thing. This was definitely not a rabbit hole that I was trying to go down to this morning.